Welcome to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy is a veteran U.S. Navy SEAL, a former protective officer for the CIA Global Response Staff, founder and CEO of the Able Shepherd program, a husband and father of 4, and a personal friend of mine. Now here's Jimmy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. I'm your host, Jimmy Graham. Joining me today, once again, BK in the house. Able Shepherd 051, what's up?
How the heck are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I turned on the AC.
Did you?
For those of you listening, I shaved off all my hair. My daughter, my oldest daughter, put her hands in her head in her face, her head in her hands, her face in her hands, and was like, and then told my wife, we should have had a family meeting. Like before I shaved my head, we should have had a family meeting and got like a consensus. I'm like, my head, shave my head if I want. Grown man. This episode brought to you by Able Nation. So, what's up, Neil? What's up, Neil Pinkham? I talk to him. We talk regularly, weekly, and I'll talk to him, the Sage, tomorrow. So obviously, Neil and I was a co-founder, and we started Able Nation at able-nation.org. We saw churches, schools, civic groups that wanted to make a safer environment for those in their care, but it was a financial thing. They didn't have the money. So we started raising money with the community, make it clear it's not us, it's the community. We'll lead a thing, raise some money, and then we'll give it back. So we'll pour it back into safety, meaning medical supplies, safety equipment, scholarships for training. So we do that regularly. It's an amazing thing. We're knocking a bunch of scholarships, and we're getting people the skills they need to protect those in their care in the light of the world losing their mind. So you want more information and you can benefit from that kind of assistance, hit up Neil at able-nation.org. The Sage, man. He sounds good. He sounds good. More air down there in Louisiana. And for his lungs and all the stuff he's got, he's working with, and time with family, so making those adjustments and shifting gears to be there for his kiddos, for his grandkids. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, good man. It was good to see him on the video we had.
So man, I'm going to call this one adventure, just straight up adventure. I was looking for something clever, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just go right to it. Yeah. You've heard me talk about this. You've heard us using adventure as a tool, so to speak. And I want to just unpack that a little bit because we got 2 coming up in the immediate future. For those of you watching, I did slice my hand open. I got in a knife fight with a dryer. If you've ever lifted a dryer, like I have many, you should know to wear gloves. And we were good to go until it slid off the dolly. And I went to catch it. So one-handed. So we're hoping. I think it's good enough to ride a motorcycle for 9 days, but we're going to find out.
Duct tape.
That's what it was. Super glue, actually. Super glue, and then a lot of tape, and it's starting to grab. So we'll see what happens. So if I come back with one paw, you know what happened. So I want to talk about this. So the adventure thing, this has been on my mind for quite a while. It started. I would say if I tried to pin it to somewhere, because I think adventure is written on our hearts, and I grew up with my dad was an adventurous kind of guy. I don't know how he did it, but manual type labor jobs, a bunch of kiddos, 5 of us, and he would make sure that we got out in the summers to do stuff. We had a little. When I say a cabin, it was like a trailer, right at this cove at Lake of the Ozarks. Yeah. We'd be there, or we'd be at the Grand Canyon, and I thought everybody kind of did this because you're a kid and you're not appreciative of much. You just go do stuff, and you think, well, everybody did. I went to the Navy and met a lot of people that never left their home, their town. Yeah. Like there was like the edge of town, and they never stepped over that until that day. And you're sitting there in boot camp, right? So over the years, been very appreciative of that. But if I had to pin, like, hey, when did this kind of take hold and see the power of adventure? Was probably Long Way Round. Are you tracking with that? Yeah. What that is?
I'm picturing Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's right. So him and Charlie Boardman, and what's his name? But Charlie Boorman and Ian McGregor. Yep. And the way that I'll describe it is a couple of buddies that are actors. They happen to be actors. Met on a set, hit it off, and they both ride motorcycles. And they planned a thing to do a show and ride around the world, starting in London and then to New York City. So here's London, here's New York, but taking the long way around, like going around the world on motorcycles. On KTM motorcycles, to be specific, but KTM shut them down. Ooh. And said, you're not going to make it because you're not going to make it through Russia, through Mongolia. It's just snow melt. There's rivers. You won't make it. And we're not going to be a part of this failure. So BMW said, we'll take that. We'll take some of that. I'll take some of that milk. How about you, Sideburns? You want some of that milk? They said, we'll take that. And sorry, that was a Billy Madison reference. And I don't know how many. I don't know if they could ever quantify how many BMWs that sold, but it was a done deal because those motorcycles kept running. They destroyed, like one of them, they shorted it out and busted it all up into that stuff, the camera crew guys, but they're pumping out water out of the cylinder heads and stuff like that. And it was unbelievable. I think it was kind of a real thing because you see them crumble.
So they're not doing it as actors. They're doing it as
They're doing it as like, let's film it
a biography
while we go do this. Cause
documentary.
You and I probably couldn't ride around the world and get it funded or whatever, but they're actors and they document it and they make a movie. And I don't know how many episodes. It's like one of those, like a series. It's a series of, I don't know, 10 of them or something like that. It's just awesome, right? And it catches you and it grabs you and says, man, that'd be stinking awesome to go out into the unknown. One part that's probably my favorite is they're in Russia. This guy meets him and he's a sketchy kind of mafia guy. And they're a party. They're like, something's off. Like he's calling everybody over. They're going to kill us. Like we're going to be dead. The guy comes down with a guitar in one hand and an AK in the other. And he's like, and he clicks it, like fires it. And they're like, he's going to be wearing our skin tomorrow. Because it's like, this is just bad. And they're shooting the gun off and it's just crazy. But it's just, we just said this word, genuine. It's genuine. And it grabs a part of you and says, man, that'd be cool to do something like that, right? So that led to the Lance Vaccaro Memorial Ride, meaning that I was going to ride after seeing that. Me and my buddy Lance, kind of motorcycle guys, Harley guys, and we said, we should do a long ride. Now, coast to coast is it's cool, but it's kind of done by everybody. And we said, obviously SEAL team guys, let's challenge ourselves. I had been in, was it 2000 to Alaska, to Seward, Alaska, and saw a foot race that went straight up a mountain on 4th of July, around a flag and back down. And they watch with telescopes and people eat it. It's just a dangerous thing and all that. It's shale and you're sliding. People are all cut up and their clothes are all mangled and all that stuff. People race. They literally jump off the mountain and their heels are touching and they're kind of skiing with tennis shoes and then it transitions into shale. Anyways, I was like, how about we go to Seward, Alaska? We leave Virginia Beach, Virginia, and go to Seward, Alaska, and back.
How many miles is that?
It's 12,000.
Each way or
no,
round trip?
Round trip. You can do it in shorter, but the route that we planned was 12,000.
Okay.
Because we dropped back into America and then shot down like Salt Lake City, like that area. And we just did a different tour. We weren't looking for straight lines. And we lost Lance in a training accident in 2008. Amazing guy. Inner circle kind of guys. We lose guys all the time. Some of them are your inner circle. Like you literally live with them every day, right? When you share platoons and you're at each other's house and all that kind of stuff. So that launched, I told a buddy of mine, Scott Letelier, man, I really regret, this is the funeral, not making time for that ride. And he goes, we should do it. And I was like, next year? He goes, I'm deployed next year. I go, 2 years. He goes, 2 years. So I started planning that day and planned it for 2 years. And we rode from Virginia Beach, Virginia to Seward, Alaska and back. Over 12,000 miles.
And ran in the race.
Once we ran in the race and paid all this stuff, we took Lance's ashes in a little amulet up to the top. We did a shot, and we passed his flask, and we all did a toast to him and all that stuff. It was unbelievable. That is now a movie on Amazon Prime called Ride for Lance. So if you ever bored one night and you want to watch that, like every once in a while, Memorial Day, I'll pull that out and watch it. And it's just a cool thing that somebody bought this is video camera. Remember the footage with video
VHS,
cameras? This is not a high-speed thing, but Anchor Bay Entertainment, I think they do the Halloween series, like it's a professional deal. And they purchased the footage, made a donation to the SEAL Foundation. Like I made it a rule, nobody makes money on this, right? The guy making the movie could make some money as long as he made a donation back to it. And we ended up raising about $50,000 for the SEAL Foundation, right? But nobody made money because I didn't want them doing it to make money. I wanted them doing it for the right reasons. And then coming back, it was seeing the power of that and what you share with people when it's hard. Right? When it's hard and you survive a thing, something happens, right?
They grow together.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And now if I get with any one of those people on that ride and start talking about it, it takes you back. Yeah. And you remember how cold it was in the rain and how it was sleeting and you almost wiped out. And like all of this stuff, right? And it's just super cool. And I'm like, there's more here than meets the eye, right? And if you've ever done that kind of thing, my dad was telling me about that, as a kid, and he was talking about, go coast to coast, do the, and he's like, me and your uncle went coast to coast, and I forget, it was like a 450 or something. He's like, I was like on a 450, I don't even know, Kawasaki or something like that. I'm like, why don't you take a bigger bike? He was like, that was the big bike. Like back then, that was the big bike, right? very capable. Now we're on 1200s or bigger, 1250s and all this stuff. And it's just amazing what those machines will do, but it's just not necessary. Yeah, it's comfort and it's all this other stuff. So that was an amazing thing that one day I will redo. So like my bike, when you see everybody with these decked out bikes, and I got a 2009
it's been there.
BMW. Well, it's because when we got loaned that. We got sponsored by BMW. They loaned us bikes for 2 months for a 31-day ride. And when I brought it back, they had made me an offer. Like, we've gotten so much publicity on this, we'll give you this bike at cost. And I was like, man, that's kind of a part of me. And I actually turned it down. Like, I wasn't going to do it. And Rachel said, I don't want to hear about this for the rest of our life. You sell your motorcycle, you get that when it costs. It's a great deal. So you say, and then just have it.
Now, the one you sold, was this parked in your dining room, as I recall?
No, that was a Harley. So that's an interesting story. So as a single guy in Virginia Beach, where regular folk would have like a dining table, I had a Harley, right? And it was funny because I didn't have a garage. It was an end-unit townhouse, and now I've driven by that since and been like, that is way smaller than right? And I had drag bars on it, so I had to like give it the gas, and I had like annoyingly loud pipes. Yeah. So if it was raining and I'm laying in bed in my board shorts and I hear it rain, I'm like, my chrome, and I jump outside and jump on this thing and goose it. Blah, 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 and then I'd have to maneuver the handlebars to get them in and then hit it again and end up in my living room. And then I would have a furniture slider under the back tire and then carry the back this way and back it into where the dining room table would be. And the joke was, you know, if ladies came over to the house, it was a total bachelor pad, they'd be like, why do you have a motorcycle in your living room? And guys would come over and say, why don't I have a motorcycle in my living room, right? And it was hilarious. And, you know, that ran its course. But then I didn't even have a motorcycle when we planned this. So, you know, then I'm like, oh man, I've got a family now. I'm living in Montana. Got stuff. I don't even have a motorcycle. Can't afford a Harley. Don't want to mess with all that stuff. So I bought a last year's model, brand new Yamaha. What was it? 1300, like a cruiser, not like a tourer, like a cruiser. So it would have been hard. It would have been rough doing it on that because it's not really built for that, but whatever. You know, it's like we had a thing. It was funny. If the new thing's out, you're going to want the new thing. We were riding, and I don't care what seat it is, in a couple hours on a motorcycle, you know, you're feeling it.
Time to change.
Right? And people were just frantically, these are Navy SEALs, these are like buddies and all this stuff. And everybody's online at every stop trying to find this new finagled seat that's the most comfortable thing, and they're going to get it shipped up forward so we pick it up on the way. And I made one statement and put it into all that. I said, I'm going to stop looking externally for a softer seat and look internally for a harder man.
Ooh.
Crickets. Ooh. And nobody mentioned seats again, and we finished 12,000 mile ride. I was like, really? Like, come on, guys, what are we doing here? But anyways, so that was an amazing thing that even now I'll look through, like, Jiminson Snaps, he made this book that is a cherished thing in my home. Like we take care of the pages and we turn it, and I can go back through those memories and look at all this stuff, and it's unbelievable, right? And you honored a buddy, and it was SEAL Team guys, and we got sponsored by BMW, and I bought the motorcycle and I still ride it. So just so much significance going on. So then, you know, once we started the company, and that seed was planted, and I saw that, and I've seen people like Pablo and Rich and Rick and all those guys, they have that, they have an organization, and at the core of their organization of Wild Sons is John 10:10. And it says, I wrote it down here somewhere, I don't want to get it wrong. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Like, living life to the full is a thing that's a gift, and I also think it's a tool. So we say around here, we use adventure to pursue the hearts of men. Now, really, we mean anyone, because actually on this one, there's woman going. It just means that it's bigger than just a thing. It's not just go out and do it and have fun. It's a thing I've incorporated in this business. Like, it's gonna cost us to leave for 9 days, right? It's gonna cost us to leave for 7 days to go to the Benghazi deal. So it's like, but it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Like, and people are like, man, you're kind of losing focus on the business. I'm like, how do you know what my vision is? This is part of it, right? This is gonna happen. And I've heard recently, and I appreciate this feedback, but hey, Jimmy's, you need to focus on this. It's like, I know what I need to focus on, and I appreciate the feedback. For example, I started this business to raise my family, so you'll see less and less of me. Yeah. You don't have to like it. That's just the way it's going to go, right? But I do love this business, and I work hard at it. And part of what I think sets us apart is that we use adventures, whether it's a mix, whether it's shooting guns, whether it's a special event, whether it's riding up to honor those fallen in Benghazi. you're different after that ride.
Absolutely.
The relationships are different after that ride. So then when I incorporated the Lineage ride, we said, hey, the Lineage ride 2019, I had wanted to do a route up to the Northwest, threw it out to the crew. And I love this about the word shepherd. I love it about Able Shepherd is that I'm not going to make anybody do anything. I'm not going to pressure you to go. I'm going to say, I'm going, you're invited.
Wants to go.
Yeah, like that. Like I think that an amazing definition of shepherd that I heard was a sheep herder might beat you all through that gate, like whack, 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 and now you got to go that way. A shepherd says, I'm going to walk through the gate, and you're invited. And if you follow, you're cool, and if not, I'll go by myself. It just didn't work out that way a lot. I'm like, I'm going to Big Fork, Montana, to honor those fallen Benghazi, and then I look back and there's 16 more people.
Yep.
That's cool, right?
Yeah. Well, and I love the Lineage ride because for me it kind of bridges the story between the Ride for Lance, because Scotty and Gary and Snaps and you were there, and Washington certainly was a great place to be.
Yeah.
I think we watched a little bit of the Ride for Lance.
Yeah.
Enjoying a beer, so it bridged that gap and kind of introduced it to a new team of yours.
Can you preface that? What was the Lineage ride 2019?
Wow. Besides, I don't know, 18, 20 days, best time of my life. It was part fundraiser. Mm-hmm. Able Nation, I believe yourself and Neil had come up with the idea, done the paperwork for the not-for-profit. The idea was to get the name out, sell some T-shirts, have a trailer with some marketing pictures, if you will, and have fun, right? I was blessed. I think you were with Christian and our sons riding along. Christian didn't go on that one.
No.
You were on the bike.
Yeah. He was on the trailer. He was on the trailer.
He was with us in a way.
Yeah. When I pulled the trailer up to the house and his picture was on there, he looks at it and he goes, I'm famous.
So yeah, for me it was, I didn't know what to expect. I've never gone on an adventure like that. Mm-hmm. It got to play a lot in the planning and maybe some of the logistics, so it felt like I was part of it. And then once we hit the road, magic just set in.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. When there's a sense of joy, you arrive, you're at the hotel, everybody's safe, you have dinner, do your thing at night, wake up in the morning, hey, wheels up at 8. So if you're having breakfast, great. Pre-ride brief at 7:30 for weather and route, and let's say 7:45, 7:50 was a little prayer. Fire them up.
Yeah, let's
Throw
go.
on a little music. Oh, getting goosebumps thinking about it.
And this is the power I'm talking about, is that adventure. There's something there that's bigger than just the adventure. There's something going on there when you challenge yourself and you break away from this thing that is this kind of, I wouldn't say monotony, but there's a rhythm of your life, and then you change it and you do it with other people.
And each day that goes, I don't know how to explain how, if you have 20, 25 people, how do they all get closer and tighter and more cohesive, truly as a unit?
Yeah.
So by the time they're riding back on the south and the east leg out of Washington, heading back towards Denver, this team was inseparable.
Yeah.
They would do anything for anybody without having to ask.
And that's part of it, that people thing. I may have told you, I got a buddy, we'll call him Duck, call him Duck, and he would ride by himself all over. And when I told him I was putting together a ride with close to a dozen people, and then up to like 40 people waiting for us per stop, it was a big deal, and he laughed, and he's like, I'm like, what's so funny? He's like, you'll see. And he prefers not to ride with anybody because of the drama, right? Yeah. And I get it, man. There's been drama, like there's been serious drama, like punching people out drama, right? There's been people ticking you off, but you got to work through it, And what it dawned on me was that all of that stuff that we rose above and worked through, now it's shared. Yeah. He can't share that with anybody. Yeah. Like you show me pictures of your trip, that's cool enough, and I'll look at them. But I'm really thinking about the new tires on my truck, right? Sometimes, and then sometimes you're like, that's cool, I'd like to do that. And it's like if you pulled out pictures of that ride, me and you, we're talking about it now. I feel like I remember, and then here's the gist of it. On Lineage rides, we shot west until we hit the ocean and we jumped in it. From 18 to, 58, 60 years old? What were the age ranges? And it was goodness, and it was cold, and it was miserable and all that stuff. And then we got warm. We did this, and we shot all the way up to Seattle and got our picture with the Space Needle. And then we shot into the was it Cascades? No, what's the mountains out there? I think it's Cascades. I forget. But gorgeous Leavenworth ceremony. The whole thing. The whole thing about the Lineage ride was to talk about, man, you didn't get here by yourself. Yeah. Like there's a lineage or a line of people that deserve some gratitude, right? Yeah. And that's what we did. And people rode and told a story about who they were riding for. Like I have Fallen Seal Buddies. We recorded a video. We submitted that. We shared about it. There were tears. It was insane. So Yellowstone, the Tetons, and then back home, and then everybody's better.
I was going to tell you, or one memory I have of, jokingly, being in Yellowstone. I'm in a truck, right? I'm driving my support vehicle, and all these folks are out on their bike in front of me. And it starts out, you're in the mountains, you're up north, it's 70 degrees. And I think within 60 to 90 minutes, it went from comfortably 70 to light drizzle to pouring rain to sleet to hail. I think it finished with snow. And we kicked out, I would say, on the south edge of the Tetons with just this gorgeous sunset.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing because I have to turn my temperature control down, 1 or 2 degrees. And you guys are going through 50-degree temperature swings.
And if anybody's a motorcycle rider, you know this, when you suck your helmet down to your shoulders like this, like a little turtle trying to get in there, and then you're brake checking to make sure you still have a contact patch with the pavement, and you're leading, so you got to make the call to pull over or not, right? And if you pull over, there's nowhere to go, so you're just cold longer, right? So you're just like kind of gauging this thing and going, and it's strangely, like you saying that takes me exactly to that feeling on that bike. And you don't forget it. Like that's the good stuff, actually. And I tell people, as long as nobody gets hurt, it just makes for a better story, right?
Yeah,
it is
thank
just
goodness,
good stuff.
All the events we've had, knock on wood.
Yep. Just awesome.
Everybody stayed healthy.
So Justice for Stevie. So the Justice for Stevie ride, another great ride. That was a Colorado BDR. On this one, I did not ride because I bought a pickup truck for this, short wheelbase, regular cab, short box, regular cab Tundra. Lifted it. It's got a 350, so it's got a 5.7 V8. The thing's made for crawling over the Rocky Mountains. It's got a camper shell on the back, so me and Christian lived in that while we supported all these guys on motorcycles. Just good stuff. You were in the Raptor, and just awesome. Yeah. Just good stuff. And your son, like this whole thing, that it's just good stuff because those are the kind of memories that you guys will have forever.
In fact, I talked to him today.
Yeah.
I told him we were doing a podcast. I said, I feel weird. We're leaving in 3 days from now to start the Wyoming BDR. And I said, I don't have my wingman. And we both kind of had that Adam's apple gulp. Like,
Oh, that's
nice, man.
Yeah.
Because he's been on the 2 events I've been able to participate in. He will certainly be missed.
The picture that comes to mind, and this, is when you got me and Gary, and like you've got this cast of characters, and I mean it, characters, all surrounding your truck, and it's you and your boy in the front of it.
Yep.
It's gold, man. It's a gold thing. We knew it's like, hey, this is a father-son thing. Let's capture this on the Lineage ride. And then on the Colorado BDR, I remember finishing in that stream at the farmhouse that we finished in, and the cooler and the river. Just
good
good
stuff. We found out that Cabela's coolers are made to float.
Yeah, it's floating, and we're all hanging out in the water, and Christian's out there like a lizard laying on the rocks and flipping over, and he's like 6 years old. So good, right? Oh. And then that one, there's a bigger meaning there, meaning that we were planning this ride, and something like unthinkable happened.
Yeah.
My brother, who's a truck driver out of Missouri, and he's just a stellar guy. Me and him have hit it off over the past few years, like nobody's business. I just talked to him today, actually, and he's regretting not being here for this ride. And his granddaughter, Stevie, that's named after him, was a child abuse situation with his son's, my nephew's girlfriend, right? Yeah. Her new boyfriend. Not to get too crazy and make it go into like a darker place, but was abused, like was beaten so badly she didn't live. Yep. Right? Yep. And he needed this group. He needed the strength of this group. And he had met them on a previous ride.
Yep.
And he came, and I said, this ride is now called the Justice for Stevie ride. We talked about this and said, this is going to be the deal. And they made up, it's still in my truck, the wings with the little feet. And to raise awareness, we talked about fundraising. He goes, I'm good. I don't need funds. I don't need money. I just need I need to be around my people. And we said, let's go do it.
And I tell you what was amazing to me is we had the opportunity or gift or facility where all the bikes and the truck drivers met the night before to, I don't know, dial in radios, make sure we're on the same frequency. Hey, I'm really excited, right? Well, unbeknownst to most of the crowd, you had T-shirts and stickers made up.
Yeah.
And somehow you had your brother's back to the crowd.
Yeah.
And held up the shirt and said, this is the ride for Stevie. Oh my gosh. And he was, I mean, he's not a outwardly emotional type person. Yeah. And to see it just, boom, hit him.
He's kind of a hard guy until he's around me. This group now, right? Because when he met, he's stern-faced and doesn't smile, and he's just a hard guy, right?
He's a good boy.
And my mom, I'm not kidding, my mom would give me a camera at family gatherings and go, can you please get a picture of Steve smiling? Because if she tried to get one, he's like, grrr. And I just texted him today about he got a new puppy. And I'm like, nice puppy. Why do you look like an axe murderer? And he's like, bro, I'm not a smiler, but axe murderer, that's a little harsh. And I go, puppies are supposed to make you smile. So he just sent me a picture, him cheesing it up and smiling. Better? I'm like, better. And he's like, I'm smiling on the inside. I'm like, I know, brother. Love you, brother. But it's just awesome. But he needed that. We were there for him, and he trusted us with that, and it was a shared thing. And there were tears, and Val, she's just a saint, and that lost her granddaughter, and it was just an ugly, ugly thing. And at the end of that ride, he asked me to lead him to Christ in our garage, and I'm like, "Can I get my family? It's a big deal for us." Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah," and we just shared that moment. I got my Bible, and we did it. We did the deal right there in the garage, and it was a huge honor. And I told him that, and it was good. It was good stuff, and we've just got a better relationship. But that's the power of this thing. Is like, man, I don't know. On family reunions, once in a while, I've never seen anything like that happen. It's an earned thing, I think, with guys. And it was funny because, like we say, we used to joke at the Rock Church when I went there in Castle Rock. You'd stand with the security guys in a circle, and you'd see a guy walk by and kind of sniff and is it safe over there? And it was so funny because they're like, I kind of want to hang out with those guys. I think those are guys I might want to hang out with, but if it doesn't look safe, they're going to keep walking. And I would literally do this. Like, I'd see people walk up and kind of look, and I go, hey, Jimmy Graham, how you doing? I'm like, open up. And we'd suck them in, right? Like this tractor being, I'm like, hey, what's your name? Do you guys know Bill? Bill's whatever. I'm Jimmy. This is it. And they're like, oh. And then you could meet amazing friends like that. But they're just not, if it like that animal, if it's not safe to enter, I'm staying out of the circle, right? So you just snag them and pull them in. So that was an amazing, amazing thing. In Colorado, I've still not done with that ride because I was in my pickup. And that shared experience with my son around this group of people, and he gets to help serve, and bikes go down, and I jump and pick him up, and he's cooking breakfast and flipping burritos and doing all this stuff, and hey, you ready for one? And doing all that stuff. He's just one of the guys, and he's 6, right? So that's just all an investment in him. And then the California BDR. That was a wake-up call, right? That's the reason why I get my bike out of the shop tomorrow, actually. That one, to be honest, was outside of my skill set on a 1200. Like on a BMW GS 1200, trying to roll in that deep of sand and that pea gravel and those kind of rocks, and dropping the bike. And if you know anything about adventure riding, your bike's going to hit the deck. That's why you have armor. That's why you have this. But shattering a handguard and stuff, you're like, dang it, piercing an oil cooler and stuff like that. You are in country that's not necessarily designed for motorcycles, and you're on a big one, and it's got your luggage on it for 2 weeks.
And it's called Death Valley.
It's Death Valley for a reason. It's not called Soft Place to Land Valley. It's not called Splash Around in the Lake
Mountain.
Valley. It's called Death as in you might die Valley, right? Yeah. So that was an amazing experience because I grew tenfold in my riding abilities, but I paid for it, right? One of my favorite pictures from that, me and Reggie, with ice packs on our dislocated shoulders and a Coors Light in the other hand, that's a good picture because it says, hey, we earned this.
Here's another example of, if we go back to the ride for Lance and the Lineage ride and the Colorado BDR, each time that circle has opened up.
Yeah,
new people have come in, and Reggie and Elliot were part of the California ride.
Yep.
they're now part of the fold.
Yeah, I met those. I think I met both those. No, I met Reggie, I think, a little bit earlier, but I met Elliot in the parking lot at King Soopers on the way out of town.
Yep.
Right. And now, friends, he's on this ride coming up, and it's just like, hey, it's just a kindred spirit saying, let's go figure this out, man. Let's go see what Wyoming's got going on. So it's
Mark
good
Silverthorne.
stuff. Mark Silverthorne, right? It's just awesome. And there's something to be said for like doing a guy a solid or being there for somebody. Like, and we've talked about this a bit. Like when you're in a pinch and somebody does you a solid, it's a deeper solid. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, cool, thanks for the, whatever. But if you do something when somebody's like, I'm stuck to the frame and I can't get out myself, and all of a sudden hands appear, lift up on your bike and get machine gun in the thighs with rocks as a tire's spinning, times 57 times, it means something. I don't know what it means. It means something.
Yeah,
there's got
to be something to it where the struggle, you're coming together as a team, you're helping each other out, is selfless at some level, and then a victory at the end.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good recipe for building a very tight lifelong bond.
And that one, I think that might be the hardest one the BDRs have. And we would keep saying BDR. I don't know if we would explain this. So Backcountry Discovery Routes, it's ridebdr.com. If you look at it, there's 11, I believe, in the country because Wyoming's the newest. There was 10. Now Wyoming launched this year, I believe. And there's a group of people, and we know one of the, the videographers. I guess that's the right word. Cinematographer. Sorry, cinematographer. Moto Mike, we call him.
Moto.
And he's amazing, Mike Bielecki. And he, these kinds of people, these kindred spirits that are these adventure at heart kind of guys. Somebody, I don't even know who, started these deals from south to north of this is the best route on two wheels avoiding pavement. Let's go get into some beautiful scenery, some challenges, some water crossings, all of the above. Let's laminate maps and mass produce them with, is it Butler Maps? I think
Butler Maps.
Butler Maps. Yeah. Butler Maps. Let's show where to get gas, where to get food, where to do all. They kind of take most of the work out for you.
And at least with Wyoming, they made a video on YouTube.
Yes.
Or a movie that was released. So if you've never done one of these before, it will give you an idea.
Yeah.
What is your riding level?
Yeah.
Right? These are rolling meadows with gravel roads.
Yeah.
And if you take a right, you're now into a boulder field. Maybe
Expert only. Right.
Yeah.
And then here's a bypass so you don't have to
Here's
do
an
that.
option.
And if you're in a Jeep, this wouldn't be dangerous expert only. You're not in a Jeep, right? You got all your luggage on you. And that's kind of the thing. You're self-sustained. So the performance characteristics of this motorcycle just changed because you got weight all over the thing, and you got to figure it out on the fly. The good news is if you fall, you land on rock.
Well, I'm glad you brought up fall because one of my favorite memories in Lake City, Colorado, dark 30 in the morning, trying to figure out which end of the coffee maker the coffee comes out of. I hear this banging sound, and I walk out my front door, and there's the 86er with a camp hatchet beating the life out of these aluminum
Try to get the shape back in his panniers, the metal ones.
Close the lid.
Yeah. It's you're taking heavies, and like I said, you're paying for them, and those bikes aren't cheap. And you're like, every time it goes down, you're like, there's $300. There's another $2. Ow. And for some crazy reason, it's all worth it.
And I'm so glad Steve's okay. But one of my favorite falls was in gypsum.
Yeah.
So gypsum is probably, what do you think? A foot of powdered sugar.
Flour, yeah.
You can ski in it. And Stevie goes down and came up looking like a powdered
He's
donut.
covered. And I thought he was like we've had a couple of near misses on what could have been medical.
Yeah.
Like in California, we literally, that first valley was so bad and so unexpected, and it was so dry. There was no moisture to put any kind of solidity, like any kind of grab into the firmness, into the sand and pea gravel, that it was just deep, so your front tire sinks. And for the pros, man, lean back, throttle, go, and then you're like, okay, throttle again. Now you're on 50. Now when you come down, whatever. So you got to figure out that thing, right? And on these bikes,
floating on it,
per the weight, you got to figure it out. That's just the only way you do it is to do it, right? And stinking cool. But we've had a couple that were like, if we didn't have a backup, like having a chase vehicle, like some kind of support crew, can make the difference. Like you get in a pickle, it's one thing. Your bike might have to live out in the desert for a while until you figure out how to get it out, because this isn't like pull a trailer in.
No, it's remote.
It's remote. right? So we've been pretty fortunate that way. And that's part of the fun too, is working on the sport vehicle. You saw my truck out there. It's got 3 hitches welded to the back of it. Now, the one that came with it, 2 more, and now it will hold. It's like a forklift. It's got 2 arms coming out of it that will hold a load and move things, stoves, coolers, the heavy stuff. You see people dragging their what are those things called? Like those big carts or those racks?
Yeah, the mesh kind
and
of.
And it goes into one point in your hitch. That makes me crazy. Yeah, and it's doing the flapping down, or it's touching the ground and sparking down the interstate. Yeah. So I reinforced it considerably and put 2 on, and it's solid. It's rock solid. New Mexico BDR, I can't really speak to that one other than the fact that the guys went. I didn't go, but it was the Able Shepherd crew that initiated this thing. They went out, trailered bikes, I forget to where, then launched, and my brother had some heavies, man. His bike still doesn't consistently start. So he had some kind of issue going on, maybe valves, maybe, I don't even know. I'm not going to pretend to mechanic this thing, but he's a little sick to the stomach. When you put that much money, he was thinking about the bike and all of the 3 or 4 BDRs. I got 40 grand somewhere tied up into that thing, and the thing ain't starting. I have a policy, like kind of a saying, new stuff should work. It's not necessarily new, but it's not old. That kind of deal. So that's a little frustrating. And that's part of it, right? So they'll figure it out, get it back up, and then get rolling. Wyoming BDR. So now we're looking ahead. So on Saturday, we meet. Well, you walk me through that one. What are we doing on Saturday?
Oh, a whole bunch of goodness. So off the top of my head, I want to say, what do we have? 8 riders and 2 to 3 people in trucks, maybe?
Yeah.
So let's just say 12.
I'm guessing 3. I think he's coming.
Yeah, we'll bet on that. And, so I would say there's a northern group of 2 or 3 people and a southern core.
Yeah.
And because of downtown Denver, I-25, I-70 is just not fun in a vehicle or a motorcycle. The first rally point will be Silverthorne, Colorado.
Beautiful.
Top of the tank, meet at the park, 10 o'clock, wheels up. And the northern group is planning to converge in Steamboat.
Yeah.
So right around high noon, the entire team will be together, top off the tanks, have a burger, and head north towards Wyoming. So I think
Bags.
One of the first stops is Bags for a little bit more fuel, and then the magic begins. Head east and turn into the dirt.
Yeah, I agree with Everett. I think they were talking about Everett saying, I want to start at the start. You know what I mean? Some people are like, there's not much there. Let's just skip it. Now let's start at the start. Let's start, finish the finish, right? And in between, let's do the thing. And I'm excited because I think this is one of the most remote, because Wyoming has just got so much beautiful public, I think it's public land where it's designated as such, and you can cut through and see some amazing stuff. So I'm excited to see it. And then this was a spur of the moment thing because sometimes I just, feel a calling, if you will. So this Remember Benghazi is kind of a spur of the moment, like it. Mike Morningstar reminded me that, and I'd forgotten this. At first, I thought there's a Benghazi Memorial, and then I remember seeing my buddy Jeremy speaking at it, Navy SEAL guy up in Montana, and he goes, there's a Benghazi Memorial in Big Fork, Montana. I was like, I think I do know that. And I saw a picture. I'm like, yes, I did hear this, but I kind of forgot about it because I think it's on a guy's private property ranch, like an elk ranch, and they felt compelled to do it. Rancher, firefighter, some other guys, they said, let's do this to honor these guys because the nation isn't. The Benghazi falls in the shadow of 9/11 nationally, you know what I mean, in New York. Yeah. And they honor both. But they kind of shift gears and make sure you don't forget that 4 people died in an attack in Benghazi, Libya, right? So obviously being that was my team, I was like, I haven't been up there yet, and that's not okay. And then he reminded me, it's 10 years. This is the 10-year anniversary. Yeah. And it's significant. And that hit me. I'm like, I will be standing there this year on September 11th. Yeah. And by the way, you guys are invited. And I blink, and all of a sudden there's 16 more people coming, right? Yeah. So what we've got planned roughly is we roll out of Castle Rock, escorted by the fire department, probably the police department, because we have amazing, first responders. And when they find out what we're doing, I already checked with my buddy, and he's like, oh yeah, that's cool. We're going to go honor the fallen in Benghazi. And was talking to Bill, the guy that kind of heads it up out there. And at first when we talked to him, a buddy of mine, Jeremy, he hooked us up and said, hey, this is what's going on. And hey, my buddy Jimmy. And he was kind of busy. He was just kind of like, yeah, okay, cool, sounds good. And I said the wrong town, which is probably part of it, as I thought it was in Kalispell. It's not, it's in Big Fork. He's like, yeah, he's coming up to Kalispell, and he's got questions about the thing. And then we talked briefly, and I kind of told him, but he was just busy.
It didn't click.
Then he calls me back. Hey, man, sorry about the delay. So who are you again? Friends with Jeremy? Oh, did you serve? And I'm like, yeah.
There's a little bit more to this story.
You know, SEAL teams, with Jeremy. Didn't know him then, but I met him at GRS. Oh, you were GRS. Like, yeah, this was my team in Benghazi. Say that again. They'd never had anybody, I don't believe, is what he was saying, that was tied to Benghazi, like the whole thing there. And this is the 10-year anniversary. And I called Tig and Oz and I said, what are you guys doing? And they said, this is 10-year anniversary, so we're going to both be in Florida doing these ceremonies. And I'm like, I'm going to be in Big Fork, Montana.
Big Fork, yeah.
So when he put that together, he goes, hold on a second. We're going to restructure this thing and incorporate you guys in the ceremony. And I had an idea, and I told Jeremy, I go, it'd be cool is when we get up there, we're going to probably at one of the Airbnbs watch 13 hours.
Yeah.
And he goes, can we take a stab at that and rent screens and get a professional camera and invite the town? So the town of Big Fork, Montana is going to watch 13 hours. That's freaking cool, right? So there's going to be a get-together. We get checked into our lodging, and then we go meet them for dinner, and then we watch 13 hours. And we wake up, and we chill in Big Fork, and then that night we that afternoon we do the ceremony. And then we get a tour down there of the rock. They put a big eagle in the guys' faces and all that kind of stuff. So it's unbelievable. So I can't wait. It's going to be stinking cool, and I miss Montana.
Who doesn't?
And the 86ers jumping on somewhere. I don't even know where, but Jason, hopefully Leslie, hopefully Chris is in town, like all that. We just got people, man. We got people up there, and it would be awesome to see them show up for all. I don't even care, but heading up there would be stellar to see them show up and spend some time. So we'll finish this talking about some of the SOPs. This is just one of the things that I don't want to say demand. It's just like the SOPs, meaning the language and the drinking.
Baseball, we have ground rules.
Yeah, guys don't like
before the game, and you just lay out the ground rules.
Right, and I think guys feel challenged that who are you to set rules, and you're not the boss of me and all that stuff. But at some point, when you're the person heading all this up, I think people forget this is my vacation too, and I don't want to worry about your language in front of my child because I do that all day, every day, and I want to relax. So manage yourself and as an adult or stay at the house, right? And I don't really flex on that, and people thank me because nobody wants to be that person. And I've had, Everett's one. I've had people that chime in and say, hey guys, can we cool it with the language? Because, and it really, this is a sensitive spot for me because I've seen fake tough like a lot, right? Yeah. And I think people hide behind that, and it's just this lost opportunity cost that I'm like, I just disagree. I've found my place in that, and I disagree. Yeah. Like you look like it didn't look tough to me. Looks like you're whatever. So we throw it out there and just say we got some SOPs, standard operating procedures. If you can drink responsibly. Like afterward, the bikes are thing, and if there's a campfire going, and you do that. I don't need a babbling idiot around my daughter. Yeah. And I actually don't want around me, But if you're going to have a beverage, then drink, responsibly as an adult and act right. And that's what I even put on there, act right. Yeah. Like the rules, act right. Well, what's right? Well, don't be an idiot is one. But like if you're drunk and if you're throwing on F-bombs, I'd rather you be back at your house, like by yourself and talking to your TV because you're messing up my ride, right? And this is a big deal for me because I value my time. I value time with my family. And then the rules of the road thing. We typically go like a 1.5 to 2 second interval. If you've ever seen or ridden with people that share lanes, not good. I've seen people crash. I've been very fortunate and pray that continues. But I know some guys that were Vietnam Vet Motorcycle Club is a MC up in Alaska, and they're lane sharing in Alaska, and like out there, it's not uncommon at all to see wildlife or a rock, boulder in the road. Yeah. And if you don't have room to maneuver, somebody gets ejected. It's like that. What's that game that you put your foot in the thing and go whack, and the ball goes that way? Croquet? Yeah, something like that.
Crochet's knitting.
Croquet? Croquet. Okay, whatever. If you're in France, is it croquet?
It's not cricket.
Okay, croquet. If you're from France, if not, it's croquet. I don't know. Anyways, that with the stick and the ball and all that kind of stuff, that's what's happening if you need to maneuver, right? So when you're riding, you got a dude in your elbow, not digging it. So I'm like, back up. So typically past the sign, 1,001, 1,002, somewhere in that 1.5 2 second deal. Just gives you some reaction time. What else do we go for rules of the road? What else we talk about today?
Typically, no more than 5 miles an hour over the speed limit.
5 over, it's a comfortable, and you play with that a little bit. But if guys are going 10, 15 over, and now I got to get up in front and tell somebody's emergency, I'm going to jail if I get pulled over.
And then spacing, like 2-lane country roads. If a car's pulling out to pass you, just create some space.
Grouping. I call it grouping.
Let them slide in.
Yeah. So they're not trying to. If you're in Alaska or Canada, and you're in your vehicle, so to speak, you've got a ring of bikes, and that vehicle's 1,000 feet long, that guy can't pass. Now he's frustrated. Now he's stupid. Yeah. Now he punches it, and he goes over a double yellow, over a hill, and a car's coming. What that means is bikes lose. Because if he comes back in that lane, he's going to stay in the lane. You're going to be in the woods, right? And now you're so far out there. What could have been, a recovery is now a lost dude, right? Because we're just not even anywhere near a hospital. So all that stuff kind of adds up to just make for a better ride. And if you throw those things out there and say, hey, this is kind of the SOPs, here's the rules of the road, it's kind of what we're doing. And I love it. It's kind of fun when you say, when I was on the 12,000 mile ride, it was you got some people, once people start being real, and they're like, why are we going so fast? I didn't come on here to look at the road. I want to look at the scenery. Right? But then you get there and you have a steak and it's nighttime. Yeah. I don't want to eat so late. Well, that means we got to go faster. Right? So there's a happy medium in here. And what we did was when people stop after a couple hours, do you want to stop for gas and do all that stuff? And some people say, hey, empty one tank and fill another and let's get back on the road. But if that turns into 30, 45 minutes and you do that many stops, it ends up being we tried to ride in the daytime because of the wildlife, and we had novice riders. So you don't want them riding at night tired, right? And that's just a good rule anyways, right? So it means we had the ladies with a stopwatch, and this was Melissa Bean. What's up, Bean? Hopefully she's watching. Melissa Sotomayor, she's married. I forget her last name, dang it. She would be like, 10 minutes, and it was go time. So you had people running in, running out, doing the thing. She's like, 1 minute, 30 seconds, wheels up, and we're going. And we got it down to a science where it was kind of fun, like where you pull up, and it would be like, and that one had a shared gas card, and we've got something similar coming on this one, where you pull up and gas and leave the card open, leave the pump open, new bike. They all take premium. Next one, boom, next one, boom. Next one, go. Park it, run inside, do your thing, get back out. When the next heat comes through and they're done, we're on the road, and it made a big difference. And what it means is you're going to have a steak and chill and hang out and get a full night's sleep because you need it.
Well, I think a target is on the bike for an hour to 90 minutes, right before you need to stretch your legs. And if you're doing, I can't do the math right now, but an 8-hour ride, that's going to be at least 4 stops.
Yeah.
And if you shave 10 minutes off each stop, that's 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes is a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Because these stops can easily go from 10 minutes to 30 to 45.
Yeah. It's because people want to.
If they find some
everybody in their bones wants to stop. Yeah, I want to lay on that ground, close my eyes, and I don't care if it's 5 minutes. I'd prefer it's 30. And nobody's really eager to get you up because they want to lay down too, or just chill out, or just talk, or whatever. And you blink, and the day's gone, and you still not to your destination. You got reservations, so that was a big deal. And then to bring this all home. As you know, me and my dad was helping plan the Lineage ride. Yep. We lost my dad to a motorcycle accident. This was kind of our language. The planning, the riding, he's ridden way more than me, better rider than me, and we would talk about routes, and we talk about, he's like, have you thought about this? What about this? Oh, be careful because of this, whatever. And it was just a fun thing. And my dad was like, he used to tick me off. He'd be on the phone, you could tell he's watching TV. Unless it was motorcycles. And then it was going and and then he would get into it. And it was just a thing that we would plan. I remember talking to him about that when we lost him. And I remember my wife and many others asking hey, are you going to hang it up? And, it's kind of rough what happened to your dad. Are you going to sell your bike? And I remember telling her, I was like, if we start removing the dangerous things about me, there won't be much left, right? And I don't say that to be macho, but I guess kind of, is that some of these things, I get it, they're calculated risks, and I feel like I don't commute on my bike. I don't push the numbers. I don't transit through Denver unless I absolutely have to, like on this ride. It's to get out of here. And I'd rather do long adventures like this, investing into myself and those around me, than I would just putting in the miles.
Well, and it's like your opening comment, to live life.
Yeah.
Right? And when you're in nowhere California, nowhere Wyoming, backcountry Colorado, middle of nowhere New Mexico.
Yeah.
The peace and serenity when the world around you is quiet.
Yeah.
It's the wind, the sun, the rain, and the trees, and the soil.
It's insane.
Cannot match that.
And every time, like I can't even imagine this because I used to leave for so long at a time. After 9 days, I will appreciate this life more than I ever have. You know what I mean? And you're just like, this, as beautiful as all this is, I miss my people.
You will come home exhausted, tired, and sore, but will have never felt better.
That's right. Yeah.
How am I energized?
It's gold.
After being
And I think
abused?
that you know, have life and live it to the full. It means, are you cheating yourself right now? That adventure, it's like, it truly is that modern day steed. You know, that motorcycle is that modern day horse where you throw a leg over and you get after it. It's not comfortable. And you are part of the terrain, and you're smelling the smells, and you're dropping into those thermal climates where it's warm, it's cold, it's warm, it's cold. You're like, I need a jacket, but I don't want to pull everybody over and say that I need a jacket, and I'm about to freeze. And somebody's like, is that your teeth? Like on the comms, is that whose teeth are clicking? And you're like, no, not mine, you know, whatever. And then somebody pulls over, like, I got to check a thing. You're like, yeah, go ahead. And everybody's rat clawing into their. You look back and see 10 bikes rat clawing into their bag to get their windbreaker, their rain stuff. It's awesome.
And then open the truck. Heated seat.
I know, right? And they're like, that's why I was panicking, because they were redoing my hand guards, like the
heated ones. Or?
I've got heated grips and those work, right? But if you don't have the guard on there, they call them Bark Busters, and that is actual brand. And that's the ones I went with this time. But if it doesn't take the wind off of your hands, I don't care how warm those deals are. When your hands are wet and you're hitting 80 mile an hour wind on them, they're cold. Yeah. But if you put those on and the heated grips, like I don't know that I'll do another bike without a heated grips. I mean, it's a dirt bike or something like that. And it's just amazing. And we have a bunch of people now. It's not just a motorcycle thing. I don't ever push anybody about a motorcycle because I know the dangers involved, and I know I calculate it. And we've got enough people now that, like, I don't have a motorcycle, but I want to come. Like, you just got that gorgeous truck that's going to go up into the Wyoming, right? And now you have a support crew, one for safety, and two, it's like those people get to be there. And now, like the servant's heart thing, I don't know why. I love jumping out and picking up motorcycles, right? Like, I don't want a guy throwing his back out, and I'm like, wait till I get there. And then I get there, and you lower down to a proper lift and get it up. And we can do that all day. How do I know? Because we've done it all day, like hundreds of times, you know. But you don't want to do it alone, and you can, but one little tweak, and you're done, right?
Well, and one thing I've seen is if somebody lays down their bike, maybe it's embarrassing. They want to get that thing vertical as fast as possible.
Yeah.
They're not thinking of lift with my legs, solid foundation.
Yep.
One thing I saw on Mike's Wyoming BDR, they turned backwards to the seat
and just stand straight
to
up.
support their back. Okay.
Yep. So, you dang near got to do that if you're by yourself.
That's why we're there.
Yeah. Awesome. And then I wrote, stay safe, stay dangerous.
Yes.
Right? I think I love that this crew is doing another thing. And yes, we do our best, safety first, that kind of thing. But that danger thing, like I said, you know, that I said to my kids, stay safe, they go stay dangerous. And, you know, and I've heard many guys kind of say that. There's way more even to that statement. So when we talk about this adventure as a tool and how this is a part of this business's plan moving forward, is to use adventure as a tool to pursue the hearts of men and women. That's not an accident. No. It's not a vacation. This is a tact. It's a skill that we're going to use, and it's working, and it will continue to work. And I'm going to say, I'm going over here, and you're invited. You know, and then it's super cool. We're not going to lose focus on what Able Shepherd is and what it does to protect those in our care, to take care of one another, and all that stuff. But what do you think it looks like? Yeah. What do you think take care of one another looks like? If you want to see it, be a fly on the wall on one of these rides. It's awesome. Okay, final thoughts, brother. You go.
Oh, I can't wait. I almost don't want it to start because it means everything. Having been on a couple, I know how fantastic it'll be. And Wyoming's really not a place I've spent much time in, so it'll just be awesome across the board.
It's cowboy country.
And then the only other thought I would have is there is a Q4 adventure, right? You guys know where to find the information, and I'm excited to hear what 2023 might bring.
I know, right? We haven't even looked into that.
I know.
We've been so
scratching the noggin. Maybe
trying to keep up with this year has been insane. I can't wait to see our end of year video.
Oh.
They get better every year, but that every year that video gets better. Yep. And I think that video is on ableshepherd.com, right? I think if you scroll down to the bottom,
see him, just reach out.
Yeah. Well, I think if ableshepherd.com, scroll to the bottom, and I think it has our 21.
It should have the 21
year in video.
But I know we have 18, 19, 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that just in my head when I think about this year, there's a ton going on. So cool. Well, awesome, brother. So we will be we'll heading out Saturday, though. I'm sure there'll be a recap. There is going to be a video. We do have a cinematographer. Is that what you said?
That's what I hear.
Going to put together a video that will probably launch as a podcast, actually.
All right.
And the same thing, we're going to be documenting the Remember Benghazi ride to go up and honor those that we lost in Benghazi. We'll be in Big Fork, Montana on September 11th. We will document that as well, and it will likely be a podcast as well.
We're going to be busy.
When you just said that, like the 23, I'm like, oh no. Oh no, and heck yeah. So like both at the time, yeah, on me, right? All right, guys. So thank you very much. This has been a great just stroll through memory lane. If you haven't, if you want to learn more about the BDR, check out ridebdr.com. They really are something awesome. I'm glad they're doing them. Obviously, there's Jeep stuff. Obviously, this is just one that's near and dear to this community. We've done several of those, and there's more coming. So if you want to, especially living in Colorado, if you haven't checked out the Colorado BDR and you live in Colorado, you better get on it. It reminds you how amazing this state is.
And how diverse it is. The terrain and the...
It's absolutely gorgeous. And again, if you're living amongst this creation and you're not enjoying it and catching sunsets and pressing yourself and challenging yourself, I highly encourage you to check it out. So we're going to put this one in the books. We're going to go hit the road. We'll see you when we get back. And until we see you again, God bless each and every one of you. Take care of one another.